Good evening. We have Henry Wajswelner here at HealthAide. Just the casual interviews we're doing with various health experts around the world. So lovely to catch up with you today, Henry.
Thanks, Barry.
Whereabouts are you based at the moment?
I actually live on the top of Victoria at Mount Hotham, so the highest point in the state. So I spend my time up there running a physio business, running a licensed bar and a cafe and a restaurant there. And I spend some of my time down the bottom of the mountain at Harrietville, and occasionally I get back to Melbourne as well. So yeah, I moved up here full time about 2 years ago, just before COVID hit.
Oh, great. So I know quite a bit about your background, but did you want to summarize your background?
Well, I think a lot of people do know me as a sports physiotherapist. So I'm actually the first person to pass the specialisation exam and become a specialist sports physiotherapist. That's a long time ago now, in 2007. Since then, I've helped quite a few other sports physios to become specialists as well. Spent a lot of time teaching at La Trobe University, running the Sports Masters course. I've been on the Australian Olympic team in a previous life with the Australian rowing team. I was many years at the AIS as well. But now I'm sort of focusing on snow sports up at Mount Hotham, and sort of specialising in acute and chronic injuries to do with skiing and boarding. Yeah.
Great. So today's topic will be, as agreed, first timers and beginners.
Yeah, the first timers. It's really it's really typical that you'll get a person coming up the mountain for the very first time, never skied before, never boarded before, really don't know too much about the conditions they'll encounter. They may be quite good at other sports, but there's a particular skill set to do with snow skiing and boarding. And look, unfortunately, every season we get quite a few people who basically do their ACL on the first day, or even in the first 5 minutes when they go on the sticky snow or the icy snow, and they fall over. And as we all know, it sometimes can be quite an innocuous sort of accident, and suddenly they've got a catastrophic knee injury. So that's really very common, and what we can try to do to prevent it as much as we can. There's a different profile of injury with snowboarders. As they're learning, they tend to fall backwards and fall forwards a lot. So their injury profile is quite different. They get a lot of upper limb injuries, a lot of wrist fractures, ankle fractures actually, and a lot of back and shoulder injuries from the way that they fall as they're learning to ski.
Right.
But with the snow skiing, because your ankle is immobilized in a ski boot, if you fall and if you've got this extra torque from the ski rotating your knee, so that's obviously the typical mechanism of injury for an ACL.
Yeah, and should people be actually worried about it? Is it very common?
I think people can be quite naive about what they can and can't do when they're learning to ski or their first time. They might come up with some friends who are actually quite good at skiing, and they might try to ski off with them and follow them or something like that. The number one thing is to get lessons. You shouldn't really go onto the snow without learning the safety aspects of it and getting a proper professional ski lesson or a boarding lesson. That's my number one recommendation for everyone going to the snow for the first time.
Right. And how many days should they spend before you think there'll be enough enjoyment? And
that varies with people's abilities, but it's a wonderful, wonderful sport for all ages. You're going to get very, very tired learning to ski in the first day, a couple of days. So if you're coming up to Hotham for a week or so, you'll have get some lessons on the first day, the first morning, like as soon as you get there, and then have a bit of a ski in the afternoon. Take it easy on the second day, get another lesson. I think if you're coming for a whole week up to the Alps, you should get 2 or 3 lessons in that week, and you are going to get quite exhausted from it. There's a very high energy expenditure in the environment here, and the altitude can affect you as well. Like it can affect your breathing and your ability to sleep at night and things like that. Don't underestimate that. you want to have a good time at night as well. So people party pretty hard up here.
Right.
So just keep all that in mind. Injuries happen when people are tired, when they're fatigued. So right at the beginning and right at the end of the day are the peak times when first timers can injure themselves.
Okay, sounds good. So what can they do to prepare for the snow? So are there any things you can sort of self-test in terms of your level of fitness or balance,
Well,
things
look,
like that?
as you know, Barry, previous knee injuries are a risk factor for another knee injury, a previous injury. So they probably should be visiting their physio if they're going to go on a big ski trip. It will be a good idea a couple of months or something like that before they go to go and visit their physio, get assessed and get some strengthening exercises to do. So look, I don't need to tell you because you know these things, but like quadricep strength, gluteal strength, hamstring strength are really, really important. Some cardiovascular endurance is really, really important because that'll help you, because you're learning new motor skills, you're going to expend a lot of energy very, very quickly. So your fitness is really, really important. So basically getting fit to ski, which, I'm echoing a program that physios used to run, this Get Fit to Ski program a couple of decades ago. It was really, really popular. And I think it's something we should be looking at again because it's going to be a massive, massive snow season this year. A lot of people have missed out because of COVID. They haven't been able to ski for the last 2 years. They haven't been overseas skiing for the last 2 years, and they're desperate to get back on the snow. And really, you shouldn't underestimate the risk of injury if you're coming back into it after such a long layoff.
Great. And what would you say the preparation difference between snowboarding and skiing is for a first timer?
Look, for a first timer, it's about skiing. It's going to be about proprioception at the knee control and proximal control through the glutes and the pelvis. Making, the safety aspects about the equipment are really, really important. So make sure that your boot can release safely. So don't put the settings on too high, the DIN settings on too high on your boot, so that your ski can't catch your knee and rotate your knee. So those things you need to depend on the professionals who set you up with your equipment. And we've got fantastic people up here at Hotham where you can hire skis and boots and things. For boarding, it's a similar situation. You need to be aware of the safety aspects. You just need to be fit, because it's going to be very, very tiring. With boarding, you're going to fall forwards and backwards a lot. With skiing, you've got to be aware that you might fall sideways and there's a twisting and a rotation component to that. So some good core strength is really, really important. So just some general fitness and strengthening a couple of months before you go is really going to put you in a really good place. And so you can enjoy your ski trip and not be in pain, from day one, which is unfortunately very typical.
That would be unfortunate, and the expense, isn't it? So
Yeah, you don't want to sort of get injured on the first day and, basically right off your week.
yeah.
But unfortunately, we do see that all the time up here at Hotham. So we've got a physio service up here at Mount Hotham, which is the Hotham Physio, and the cafe is called the First Run Cafe. The license bar is called the Last Run Bar. You can check out the Facebook page, Last Run Bar, and our website. Come and visit. We like to make really great coffee up here, and we serve local produce all within 100 kilometres. We want to get the wine, the food, the fresh produce, all from the local area.
Great. And in terms of people with specific medical conditions, like diabetes type 2, do they need to carry with them extra glucose or?
They are going to fatigue much, much quicker. Your blood glucose will drop. With diabetes, because you're using the big muscles of your body, you're probably expending so much energy. You do have to keep a close monitoring of your blood sugar. The other thing is it affects some people more than others, but we're not at really high altitude. We're at about 785 meters high, but that is high enough to have an impact. So people tend to find that their breathing is affected. So, for example, if you try to go for a jog up here, you really will feel it. Like I said, it can affect your sleep at night and those kinds of things. So just being aware of that. Basically, look, just be sensible, get a lesson on day one, take it easy the first couple of days, and just pace yourself so you can go hard towards the end of the week rather than sort of writing yourself off on the first day.
Great advice there, Henry. So last question I have is around the type of trends you're seeing on the mountains now,
Yeah.
and the health risks associated with that.
Yeah, well, it's been really interesting in the last 2 years because the ski lifts have been on and off. They've been operating at times, and then in the first year of COVID, they weren't operating at all. And people are so passionate about skiing, they learned to ski uphill. And what I mean about that is they learned to alpine tour, which is a process of a different set of equipment, a different set of bindings. You put adhesive skins on the bottom of your skis, which stick to the snow when you climb. So they're actually a copy of seal fur, which is the original skins that people used to put under their skis so they could ascend on snow. So I got into that, and a few friends of mine encouraged me, and I think it's a wonderful alternative to normal alpine skiing. You can do it with a split snowboard as well, or with skis. When you're climbing up, because there's no chairlift to take you up the mountain, you actually have to hike up. Instead of walking, you can actually use your skis and go up, called skinning. It uses all your muscle groups in a much more generic and sort of holistic way than just standing around on a lift line and skiing downhill. So you can feel your glutes working, you can feel your hamstrings working, or your whole body. It's an amazing sport for your fitness. Okay, so this alpine touring goes hand in hand with the idea of backcountry skiing. So this has been going on for years, and it's very big in Europe and Canada, and it's becoming much more popular here. So backcountry is when you actually leave the resort and ski off into the wilderness. Now, there are a lot of risks associated with that, as you can imagine. You should never go and do that on your own, especially if you're a beginner. Luckily, I've managed to put together a group of friends here, so we have a little crew, and we all go out and look after each other. But again, it's about the energy expenditure when you're learning. I found myself exhausted very, very quickly when I was learning it for the first time. So you really need to go with people who know what they're doing, get some lessons, go with a professional tour company that people can take you out touring. I think that's a trend that is going to grow here in Australia. It's going to be extremely busy this snow season. Everyone's really predicting a massive season, and you're going to be spending a lot of time standing in line. So why wouldn't you just put your skins on and go uphill? You'll probably do more runs per day than most people standing in the lift lines. So we'll see what happens with that. That's called alpine touring, backcountry skiing.
Great. That's all I had for you today.
That's great. Next time we'll talk about the injury toll on like advanced skiers and people who maybe had an ACL reconstruction before. That's really, really, really common. So
yeah, and it'll be good to maybe have outline around programs that people might be interested in.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot of people this year coming back to ski for the first time after a long, long break. So getting a program going is going to be really important.
Fantastic. Thanks, Henry. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. See you up here.
All right.